We have been, for the past several weeks, studying the prophets and the judges of the Old Testament. So we have spent several weeks up until this point exploring what the prophets of God had said before the fall of Israel and Judah. And today we're going to take a very brief look at some people who found themselves in the after, in captivity in Babylon. We're talking about the book of Daniel. There is no Israel in this book. Israel has been scattered for almost 2 centuries at this point. And at this point, there is also no Judah. Judah has been taken captive by Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. But we read of 4 friends specifically in this book who, even though they are captive by the Assyrians, they remain righteous and obedient to the Lord. We are talking about Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, the names Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are not their Hebrew names. When they are captured by Nebuchadnezzar, he changes their names to names that will cause them to lose their identity as Hebrews, their identity in Yahweh, and help to force them to assimilate into the community where they are held captive. Now, Nebuchadnezzar has this training camp, if you will, for the captives and the young people in Babylon, so he can see who has the skills that he can use to make things better for himself. And these 4, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, are the brightest of all the people in the training camp. They become to be well known for their abilities. So he uses them quite a bit. People in town know who they are. They have a few more privileges than some of the other captives have. Now, Nebuchadnezzar, being the egomaniac that he is, builds a very large golden statue. We assume that it is a statue of himself, but we don't know that for sure. But he sends out an edict into his community and says, okay, here's what's going to happen. Every so often, you're going to hear music playing. Picture a marching band walking down your streets, or maybe the ice cream truck coming, right? Playing the music, right? When you hear that music, you will stop whatever you're doing, wherever you are, and you will bow down, facing the direction of the large golden statue, and you will worship it. Now, Daniel is not a part of this story, but we read that the other 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refused to do this. And so some of the other people go to Nebuchadnezzar and they say, those Hebrews are not doing what you said they have to do. So Nebuchadnezzar calls them in and he demands of them to know why they aren't following his rules. Why will they refuse to worship his statue? He says, if you don't worship my statue, I'm going to throw you into a fiery furnace. Which sounds like, But what you have to understand is in that time, they built things out of bricks that they made sturdy in a fiery furnace. So they knew exactly how hot that furnace had to be in order to make those bricks strong. And so Nebuchadnezzar says, if you don't worship my statue, not only am I going to throw you in the furnace that makes those clay bricks hard, I'm going to make it 3 times hotter than it usually is. So worship my statue. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, which we read of in Daniel 3. King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold that you have set up. It's been a long week for me. I got sick, not once, but twice. My dad's been in the hospital. My dog got sick, not a little bit of sick, but really sick. So that I was mortified when I was at the vet with her because I didn't know she was sick. Had car trouble, not little car trouble, big car trouble. And there was another devastating school shooting where these children were in mass. They were literally praying when someone shot them. And it was a lot. And I've been thinking about those powerful words spoken by those young men being held captive by the Babylonians. Even if you don't answer my prayer, I will not bow to another god. Except, I was fighting a lot of the temptation to bow down to the other gods when I was in my trials. Other gods and idols like fear, my own reputation, my doubt, my questioning about the future. Instead of saying, even if, I started saying, what if a lot. What if the vet thinks I'm a terrible pet parent? What if I get so sick and I can't get medical care? What if my father gets worse? What if I never find a decent job? What if the calf we now have in the barn that we have to bottle feed doesn't survive? What if none of this stuff goes the way that I think it should? You see, often things happen to people that irreversibly can change their lives without cause. They haven't done anything wrong. People get cancer. The economy swings. We go to war. You get smashed in traffic. And then we get baffled sometimes. Because there are times when very bad things happen to very good people. And we have big questions about it. But that's the truth of the matter. Just ask Jesus. And this is a situation that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego find themselves in. You got to remember, they didn't choose to live in Babylon. They were captives. They hadn't chosen to be high-profile people in their captivity either. They were singled out by a megalomaniac king, and they weren't loudmouth troublemakers. They just wanted to do their jobs and go home at the end of the day. They weren't looking to stir things up in Babylon. They hadn't chosen for their ordeal to happen. It got dumped on them. And if you think about it, of all people, they had the right to despair and be bitter, but that wasn't the approach that they took. They said, we know that God can rescue us, but even if he doesn't, we will be faithful to him anyway. They're facing being burned alive. There is no human way for them to survive this. So would they bow down to an idol to keep from facing certain pain, fear, and suffering? Or would they stick with their faith? What would you do if someone was going to burn you alive? These three young men, the captives in Babylon, they stood in front of that fearsome king and boldly proclaimed that under no circumstances would they worship that giant image of gold towering above them, that God will save them, but even if he does not, they will still be faithful to Yahweh. They will not bow before an idol. So, into the furnace they went. And that furnace was so hot, it vaporized the guards that had to throw them into it. In Matthew 5, we read of Jesus saying, it rains on the just and the unjust too. Being a person of faith does not exempt us from the troubles that life brings our way, but we need to understand that every problem has a dual nature, a dual opportunity. Problems can either draw us closer to God or they can separate us from him. When some believers are facing trials, they give up their faith in God and they turn to idols. They stop praying, they stop attending church, they stop serving others in the name of the Lord. They stop reading his word. They give up on their faith. They give in to things like fear and doubt and confusion and the media that are telling us there's got to be a better way. There's a better way for you than God's way, especially if you're still going to suffer. You know, when I went to seminary, which was for a short time, because, anyways, seminary is seminary. It's either about your denomination or it's about social justice issues. Jesus is kind of rare in seminary, I'm sorry to say. But one thing I did learn in seminary is something called Pascal's wager. All right? So Blaise Pascal is a theologian from the 1600s. And his wager is this. You can either choose to believe in God or not to believe in God. If you choose to believe in God, you live a good life, and if God exists, when you pass on, you have eternal life. Your life on earth is peaceful because you are doing good things, and then your life in eternity as well because you have had faith, right? You have nothing to lose, Pascal says, because even if God does not exist, you're still living a peaceful life, right? It's a very confusing thing. I've tried to make it very simple. It's not a very simple thing to wrap around, but Pascal's main point here is you have nothing to lose from believing that our God exists. You benefit from it. Even if are very powerful words of faithful. Because even if it doesn't work out as I hoped, I will still place my hope in God alone. Not in the world, not in the idols that the world provides for me, but only in God. Human life is hard, and it's unpredictable, and it's scary, and it's very easy to get caught up in what if. What if you get a medical report back that wasn't so good? What if the vet tech continues to give me side-eyed glances when I come in because my dog is sick again? What if I do get very sick? What if violence comes to my community? What if? What if we were to be more like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and move from what if to even if? It could become a turning point in our spiritual journeys as we learn to trust God in the face of the unknown or even in the face of known suffering and trial. Even if I lose my job, even if my dog is sick, even if I or my loved ones are ill, even if violence enters my life, even if God is still God and I am still his. The prophet Isaiah writes, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze." Notice that I did not say we need to adopt a so what attitude. To go through life facing trial and saying so what would indicate that we just don't care about what's happening. And that would be ludicrous. Because the situations that we have to face are hard, they are painful, and we are right to hold concern about them. But we don't find hope in so what or what if. We find our greatest hope in even if. God miraculously delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from that fiery furnace, so that Scripture tells us not a hair of their head was singed, and their clothing was smoke-free. We read of Nebuchadnezzar looking into that fire and saying, "Wait a minute, folks. How many people did you put in there? Wasn't it just 3? Because when I look down into the furnace, I see 4. And one of them looks like a son of the gods." This is what is famously known as one of the most well-known things that scholars would call a Christophany. It is the appearance of Christ in the Old Testament stories. He is the 4th in the fire. You see, when we're facing trial and tribulation, in all of eternity, from the beginning of it all until when he comes back, Jesus has been present. God has sent Jesus to us, just as God sends Jesus to us daily in our what ifs. Even if all these tragedies and trials happen, we still have Jesus. These young men had prepared to die, but their trust in God was unwavering, even if he wasn't going to save them from that particular trial. But he did. And through Jesus, even if our life on earth ends, our life in him is only beginning. So maybe you're facing a fiery furnace of your own. Maybe you've had a rough week too. It seems to be in the air. Maybe something has happened that could totally destroy you. Maybe it's a financial furnace. Maybe it's a health furnace. Maybe it's a relationship furnace, and you're in that what if stage as you're facing the future. Can you be at a point where you can replace your what if with even if? Declaring that even if our worst fears are realized, even if the very worst we can think of happens, we will trust in God to deliver us, to go through it with us, and to rescue us. I would like to welcome this morning Cassie Klinker. Yes, I was going to say Klinger. I knew that was not. Cassie Klinker. She is the shelter manager from Hope Springs. For those of you who live in this community, you will know that this past spring when we had some storms come through, their building was struck by lightning and it destroyed their building. And a lot of us had many what-if questions in that moment. So I've invited Cassie to come today to share the testimony of Hope Springs with us and to show us how even if things go awry, we can still move forward in Jesus' name and in his service. Cassie? You're welcome.
Okay. Good morning. Are you guys excited for this long weekend this weekend? Any big plans? Do any of you guys know about Hope Springs or anything about what we do? Okay, well, I've put together a slideshow in case anybody didn't know what we do, so I'll just kind of fast forward through those things. Hope Springs, where hope springs to life in the lives of individuals overcoming the effects of domestic violence. And we serve both men and women, which we'll talk later about, but in our other building, we used to have one room set aside for men. It's something that doesn't get discussed a lot, that men are also victims of domestic violence as well. The mission of Hope Springs Safe House is to provide an accepting, loving home environment in the spirit of Jesus where residents can recover from the effects of domestic violence. That's our mission statement. That's on all of our brochures and everything that we hand out to the community and to the public. Honestly, a lot of our people, if you can imagine, they come in and a lot of them have never, they've heard of Jesus, but they've seen a lot of really bad things, and a lot of them have lost their faith in that. And so we do our best to try to give them love, maybe in a way that they've never experienced before. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. Proverbs 31:25. That is one of our go-to verses. That's also on all of our things. We really live by that statement, and it's our hope that when our people come in, sometimes we don't see a smile for weeks. Sometimes we don't see a smile for a month. So this verse really resonates. Okay. Strength or emotional strength is the ability to effectively cope with, navigate, and recover from emotional stress or life experiences rather than being overwhelmed and suppressed by them. And dignity is a state of being worthy of honor and respect and pride in oneself. At Hope Springs, we worked one-on-one with the individuals with the aim of he or she walking away from us with a renewed strength and dignity. So many times they think that they're worthless when they come in. They've been told that. They've been told that for years. So giving them the respect that they deserve, a lot of times it's just tearful. When they come in and we're talking to them, they just start crying because we're respecting their space or their opinions and things. Okay, some of the statistics is domestic violence can be anything. It's not just physical. It can be emotional and verbal and financial. It can be any of the above or all of them. Domestic violence affects usually 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men. 28% of the population of Fountain, Benton, and Warren counties, due to a survey, have been affected in some way by domestic violence. And domestic violence perpetrators don't just do the physical harm to their victims. More common than not, victims experience post-traumatic stress disorder, emotional disorders, mental disorders, depression, and sometimes all of them, all at the same time. What is Hope Springs? We are a domestic violence program encompassing Fountain, Warren, and Benton counties. And we have 4 different programs. We have the shelter program, the rapid rehousing program, the mobile advocacy program, and the children's advocacy program. And we'll talk a little bit more about those. We are open 24/7, 365. We're open nights and weekends and holidays. We are 24-hour staffed. We have a crisis hotline. We offer shelter and a safe place to stay. We also have the rapid rehousing program, which we'll talk a little bit more in a minute. We offer mobile advocacy, support groups, case management, and children and youth services like field trips and different things like that. Domestic violence issues have led to nearly 8 million lost days of paid work each year, and that's equivalent to over 32,000 full-time jobs. So, yeah. So the shelter program, the residential facility that we have is designed to meet the immediate needs of our victims and their children, offering them safe and stable housing for up to 2 years. We can keep them there as long as they are doing what they need to be doing, meeting with their case manager and all of those things, then we will keep them for as long as they need to stay. We offer them shelter, food, clothing, toiletries. Transportation is a really big one. Sometimes we go all the way to Indianapolis, sometimes we stay local. And case management also includes life skills that are needed to obtain stable housing and lifestyle choices afterwards. A lot of them have never been trained how to clean or to do the dishes or to do anything like that, so we go in and we try to teach them how to do those things too. We offer support groups and child advocacy and short or long-term assistance. Sometimes they come in and some of them need a little bit more than others do. Sometimes they're really self-efficient. So this is our current living room. We are in a rental facility right now since our building burned down. This is our current living room that we have at our rental house. As you can see, it's pretty big. We're still waiting on some other furniture to come in, but right now we have 9 women and 8 kids, ages 3 to 10, I think, 3 to 10. Our rapid rehousing program is a really cool program, and a lot of people just think that Hope Springs is just shelter. But we have our rapid rehousing program where if people come into the shelter or they are a resident of Fountain, Benton, or Warren County for up to 90 days, or for at least 90 days, we can offer them housing. As long as there are available rentals, our rapid rehousing director can come in and work next to them and find them a safe home to live in, and we will subsidize their rent for up to a year. So we will cover their rent, we'll cover their food or their car repairs or any kind of thing that they need. In case management, we meet with them every week or every day even. We do credit counseling there and eviction expungements if they have an eviction on their record. We help with budgeting, and they can also continue to go to support groups. The rapid rehousing program focuses on securing safe and permanent housing as quickly as possible for victims of domestic violence. It started in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, and since then we've housed over 36 families consisting of over 62 children, and we have put them in safe and stable housing. In 2024, we housed 18 adults and 36 children, and as of this year, we've actually already outserved what we did last year in 2024 in the rapid rehousing program. Our mobile advocacy program is brand new. It just started in 2023. That is designed for people who are fleeing domestic violence who might not need shelter necessarily. Maybe they need legal help, maybe they need a protective order, maybe they need a divorce, maybe they owe back rent on their house. So our mobile advocate comes in and helps with that. They're also under the umbrella of Hope Springs, so they can still come to support groups, and they can still partake in like the children and the child advocacy groups. Our mobile advocate also goes into Seeger, Attica, Fountain Central, and Covington, and teaches about teen dating violence and what that looks like. And our child advocacy program, so any child whose parent is enrolled in our services qualifies for child advocacy. We have a child advocate who comes in and she does parenting groups with their parents. She does weekly groups with the kids. She goes to school meetings with them. She will make sure that, like, if one of them really wants to play baseball and there's a $25 fee to start that, she will cover that. She does those things, as well as life skill classes, and she takes them on field trips. We actually just went to Prophetstown Water Park, and we took all of our people. I think we had almost 60 people go. It was crazy, but a lot of them had never gone to a water park, so that was really fun. Lisa Badgley is our child advocate, and her husband Jerry is the pastor at the Attica Free Methodist Church. And our fearless leader, Misty Barnett, she's our executive director. She's the one that does everything. I don't know how she does it. She's also a math nerd. She does all of our grants and all of our budgets, and she keeps the lights on in the place, so. Our support group, we do seeking safety, parenting classes, Bible studies, life skills, and art therapy. And we do those every week, and anybody is welcome to go. They're actually open for the community, and we have childcare that comes in and will take the kids so that parents can have their me time and maybe focus on them for just an hour or so. Sometimes that really makes a big difference. Our courthouse displays are ways that we have like prevention out there. February we have teen dating violence. October is domestic violence awareness. And then we also do the safe dating and the teen dating violence classes in the schools, like I said. And we do job fairs. Our fundraisers that we do, our big one is the apple pies. That's coming up in November. As of right now, we don't have the dates for that. I think the community center that we used last year, I think they've overbooked or something, so we're trying to figure that out. But we are going to be doing our apple pies this year and bingo. And this year we were going to do our chocolate festival. It was going to be the first one, but then we had a fire. So next year we'll be doing our chocolate festival. Our statistics, in 2024, we served over 5,500 people for different bed nights in the shelter. We had 66 adults and 50 children served by the shelter, 72 adults and 44 children served by mobile advocacy, and 43 adults and 79 kids for rapid rehousing. And this year, even with a fire, we've already served 2,300 bed nights in the shelter and 207 served in all three programs. So we've had a crazy year. Our fire happened on April 2nd, 2025. I'll tell you, I was on call that night, and we had a brand new third shift worker who was there. She had only been there for 3 weeks. She's our youngest employee. She's only 20. And I got a call at 4:30 in the morning that said that our building was on fire. I didn't believe her, but she said that she had called the ambulance and she had called 911, and they were sending people out. Somehow she was able to get, we had 15 people living in the shelter at that time. We had 8 women and 7 kids living there, plus our staff member that was there, and every single person got out. And it was really scary. The lightning came through the roof of the house, and it went through the attic, and the attic was where we kept all of our bedding. So our blankets and our pillows and towels, basically really good kindling for the fire. And so it struck through, and it just torched the attic. But the lightning came through the ceiling and into the floor on our second floor. And at that point, all of the lights went out, and luckily we were able to get everybody out okay. But the response time was very fast for the fire as well. We never stopped serving even during that time. That was April 2nd, like I said, and we were still getting calls. We were getting calls for people needing shelter. So we ended up using the shelters that are in Lafayette and Crawfordsville. And so we would put people up there. A few people from Attica or Williamsport volunteered, like Airbnbs or just couches. Lots of people volunteered their couches and things for us. And we kept all 8 of our kids in school. Nobody missed a single day, and it took a lot of dedication. We had a couple of our people have to leave the house or leave their house at 4 in the morning, drive all the way to Lafayette, pick them up from the other shelter there, drive them back to Attica, make sure that they got to school on time. It was a really stressful couple of weeks. That is the house. As you can see, the firemen going in. I don't know if that's the one that you can see the smoke coming out the top, but our house was so pretty. This was the day of, the water was still coming through the ceiling. That was our living room. It was a swimming pool. These pictures really don't do it justice about the damage that it was in the house. And that was our kitchen. That was the upstairs hallway. That straight ahead is one of our bedrooms. That bedroom actually took the most damage. We had 4 people sleeping in that room that night, and the ceiling had completely come in on them. Yeah, there's more smoke. If you can imagine, it was just a really scary experience, the whole thing. It was really scary. We had kids that kept asking us if we were going to save their house. What's next? We're seeking God's provision when going forward. Honestly, right now, we just had a board meeting, and they split up into like a mini committee on the board, and each committee took on one idea for what to do going forward. Because before the fire, we had actually already had a building plan set up for the church that's right next to the building. So we were already planning on expanding into that building and making ADA and handicap compliant apartments. And so we had already paid for the plans for that building. And so one of our committees is looking at what would happen if we just demolished the house and expanded into that building, and then maybe did an ADA compliant apartment building on the land where the house was. Somebody else was looking at vacant land and just building brand new. Somebody else was looking at what if we bought just a really large house. So they're just looking at all the different things. I think we should have a decision hopefully made by October, is our hope. Right now, it's looking like the cheapest option would be to demolish the house and rebuild like an ADA compliant apartment complex or like a building right there, and take in 8 families at a time in their own space, and then turn the church into offices. That's right now, that's what it's looking like, but nothing has been confirmed at this point. We always need help. Prayer is number one. And like, if you wanted to come in and do a Bible study or teach a group or just come in and talk to some of our ladies, a lot of times the women that we have there, right now it's just women, but the women that we have there, a lot of times they just want somebody to listen to them. They just want somebody to come in and talk to them and just care about them. You can also, other than prayer, you can also donate household items and office supplies, as well as cleaning supplies and toiletries and gift cards. Gift cards, I think I have it on a different one. We also have the PayPal link on our website that you can use. These are the things that we use the most frequently. We go through a lot of ink, if you can imagine, a lot of copy paper, and so much coffee. You can't even imagine. We have 15 people that live there right now, and some of them are drinking like 3 or 4 cups a day, not to mention staff. We go through so much coffee. And we have a carafe kind of coffee, plus we also have a Keurig for the K-cups. It's gotten a little ridiculous. Clorox wipes, floor cleaners, bathroom cleaners, batteries, laundry detergent, fabric softener, hand soaps. We also go through so much paper towel, and Kleenex and hand sanitizer, non-perishable foods, deodorant, journals and planners. That's a big one. I'm always getting asked if I have a blank journal that I could give somebody because they want to journal their thoughts, or they want to write poetry, or they want to draw. And a lot of times we don't have that. And right now, our budget for those kinds of things is non-existent because we've had to pay for so many other things since the fire. We don't have money for things like that. Small Dixie cups for like our Culligan thing, and paper plates and disposable cutlery, dish soap, razors, hairbrushes, hair ties, toothbrushes and toothpaste, and over-the-counter medications. We use those a lot. Tylenol, ibuprofen, Dayquil, NyQuil, allergy meds. The kids go through a lot of Tylenol, like children's Tylenol and infant Tylenol. We're always needing medications. That's something a lot of people don't really think about because you have those things in your house, but just think we have like 15 people that live there, and we really go through those. And small amount gift cards for like McDonald's or Amazon. Sometimes we use those things as incentives or rewards. If somebody is doing a really good job and they're meeting all of their goals, and maybe this person had to go down and take a driving test to get her driver's license back, we would like to have gift cards to give her as like a reward for, you did it, congratulations. And large gift cards like Walmart, Sam's Club, Menards, Amazon, Watson's Automotive, we use them all the time for our van. In County Market, we go through a lot of groceries. This picture was the day of the fire, so, I mean, kind of. It was April 1st. It was for Sexual Assault Awareness Day. We went out on April 1st and took pictures, and then that night, the fire happened. This was our display that we had for sexual assault awareness that we put up the day after the fire. And these are just some things that we do to get our name out there. This was a street fair that our mobile advocate went and set up a booth at the fair in Williamsport. This was the day the Purdue Extension Office provided us with a bunch of food, and that was such a blessing. We are still going through that. We had cans of like canned food. We had cereal and granola bars and gummies, and we are still going through that. And I think that was in like May. That's some of our staff at an event that we went. It was a fundraising event back in April. So this is our current house in the rental that we have in Attica. That's one of our rooms. That's what they look like. We have 3 sets of bunk beds, so 6 beds in each room. We got the really heavy-duty beds. Each bunk can hold up to 500 pounds. And as you can see, like, the rooms are big, so they're not really on top of each other. We have quite a bit of space in there. I just wanted you guys to see the beds. This was our clean-out day. We had students from, I believe that was Fountain Central. They came and helped. I think they had a lot of fun. They were taking chainsaws and chopping up our bunk beds in our old house and throwing the pieces out the window. That was at Covington. That was another one of our educational events that one of our staff members went to get our name out there. This house here was, we went to stay at His Mission Church in Williamsport right after the fire. They have the basement set up as a shelter, or it was set up as a shelter back in like 2012. And so they offered right after the fire for us to move in there. So they had 3 rooms, and that's where we stayed. About a week after the fire, that's where we stayed from the whole month of April all the way until May 16th, and then we moved into the house that we are at now. And that was the day that we moved in. This was our Christmas, our staff Christmas party that we had. Some of those people no longer work here, but that was the biggest group of some of our staff. I took the pictures, so I'm not in it. But anyway. Did anybody have any questions for me or about Hope Springs that maybe I could answer? Okay. That's it. Thank you.
There are several, not your fault, mine. We are blessed as a county and as a community that we have several ministries operating to serve people in need. And our church has identified those, and we do support them financially, but things come up, right? No one was expecting the day after April Fool's Day for the shelter to catch on fire. And I cannot tell you the difference between what gets done, and I'm not saying anything bad about the things happening in Lafayette because there are services needed everywhere. What's happening in our community is very different. There's a very different feel to it. Jesus is part of it, an important part of it, of the things they're doing in people's lives. And so this is something that we want to support, even in the trials. I knew when I heard that that building caught on fire that even if their building burnt down, Misty was going to keep going, no matter what it took, right? And so these are important things. We live in a small community and our resources are limited. So really, this and a Better Way Food Co-op are taking their limited, not just the food co-op there, but all the things they do there. We're taking limited resources and we're doing very good and godly things with them. So thank you so much for answering. Even if it's hard, we're going to keep going instead of giving up. So I'd invite you now to stand. We're going to sing our final hymn, which is the Lily of the Valley. You'll find that as number 626 in your hymnal. And the words will be up on the screen. There are several songs and prayers through music that you can find about the even if situation. But one is a song by Mercy Me called Even If. And some of the words say this: "It is easy to sing when there's nothing to bring me down. But what will I say when I'm held to the flame like I am right now? I know that you are able, and I know you can save through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is in you alone." I pray for your peace and your shalom as you leave this place until we are able to be together again. May God bless you and keep you. Amen.